You're listening to Leadership Podcast, a series of short, insightful discussions with experts in the field of volunteer leadership. Brought to you by the OREA Centre for Leadership Development. Your interviewer is Elaine Chappelle.
I'm speaking today with Wendy Woods, and Wendy is principal of Watershed Training Solutions. We're delighted to have you here today, Wendy.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Today is an interesting topic. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence. And so clearly, for most of us, myself included, it would be very helpful if you give us a little explanation on what is emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence is really about being intelligent about emotions. Emotions impact our behavior, that impacts our performance, our relationships, and our success in life and at work. And so it's important for us to understand our emotions in order to be able to better manage our behavior and get more of the results that we want. It's pretty well encompasses three areas. So one is know yourself, two is understand others, and three is dealing with the world. So it's a simple way of understanding a comprehensive concept.
Excellent. That's actually a good explanation. Those three things help to clarify it quite a bit. It's become quite respected, I would say, as in even common discussion anymore, whether we fully acknowledge we understand it or not. Why do you think it's become so much more recognized, more of our common discussion?
Yeah, and for years when we were growing up, we were told, get good grades, work hard, get into this program or this profession. And that was really important at that time, to be academic, to have cognitive intelligence or IQ. Now, once we get into a profession or a certain job, you're working with people of similar intelligence. So IQ is no longer a differentiating factor. EQ is, or emotional intelligence. And so Daniel Goleman says it really well. He says, IQ gets you hired, EQ gets you promoted. So it's really the difference in sort of moving forward and going to the next level in your career. They've also found that 90% of top performers have high emotional intelligence, and 85% of the leadership competencies fall in the areas of emotional intelligence.
Those are big stats.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
So can someone change their emotional intelligence? Can they get more emotionally intelligent?
Yes, and Elaine, that's a really good question because it's a skill that can be learned and developed. It's not static. So even if one of the areas of emotional intelligence is empathy, being able to stand in somebody else's shoes, I can learn to be more empathetic if I'm not. It's not a given and it's going to stay that way forever. So that is great news. We can work on it and we can become more emotionally intelligent.
Excellent. Now, what are some of the things I can do then? What should I be doing to improve my emotional intelligence?
Well, the foundational competency in emotional intelligence is emotional self-awareness. It's recognizing and understanding your emotions. We, in our work environments and our society, we don't spend a lot of time on emotion, right? It's like, it's something that we think gets in the way. But when we actually understand the importance of it, as I said earlier, on our behavior and how it impacts our success and performance, we realize that spending some time on that can actually make a big difference in our success. So the first thing that I suggest to people is you want to work on your emotional self-awareness, recognizing and understanding your emotions. How do you do that? Well, one of the great ways that people can start doing that is at the end of every day, or maybe you make a commitment every few times a week, 3 times a week, sit down with pen and paper and reflect on the day. Think about client interactions, meetings you've had, and go over them and ask yourself, can I recognize the emotions I was having at the time? Do I understand what caused them? What my behavior was and the impact of my behavior? So let me give you an example. Let's say during the day you had someone who brought you a really important report you needed for a client late. They missed the deadline. When you reflect on that, what were your emotions? Maybe you were disappointed. Maybe you were frustrated. The cause of that was the fact that they missed the deadline. Maybe your behavior was you got irritated with them or a little flustered or frustrated. And what was the impact of that reaction on yourself and others? So, for example, often we do things as a reaction, not a response. So we just, we don't think about it. And we often feel badly after, right? We get irritable, we snap at people. And then what would be the impact on that person? Maybe, it impacts their loyalty or their willingness to go above and beyond. So that's the first step, is reflect on what's going on, because you need to become aware of those emotions in order to be able to manage them or reflect on them. So that's really a first step. And if you don't have emotional self-awareness, it's going to be really hard to improve your emotional intelligence in the other areas.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Actually, if every one of us could do that, I think we can immediately see some benefits to our interactions with people. Thank you so much, Wendy. I've been speaking with Wendy Woods, Principal of Watershed Training Solutions. And if you'd like more information about this topic, you can go to watershedtraining.ca.
You've been listening to Leadership Podcast. To subscribe to this podcast, go to OREA.com/leadership.